How's it going, fellow Detroit Red Wings fans? So a couple months ago, we took a look at what the Detroit Red Wings lineup could look like. Well, a lot has taken place, from the expansion draft, to trades, to free agency. So let's take another look at what the opening night roster could look like for the Detroit Red Wings. So the top line is slightly different. We have Jakub Vrana on the left wing, Filip Zadina on the right wing, and Dylan Larkin at center. First thing people will notice, where is Bertuzzi? Well, we will get to that in a second. As for this line, it has the potential to be a real first line. Vrana has shown he can be dominant, going point per game at the end of the season with the Wings. Zadina is very young and has the skills to be a playmaking and elite goal scorer if he can put it all together. And Larkin, he's our best center right now, but having highly skilled and competitive players should help kickstart his offense. This line, if the Czech connection works and Larkin can find his offensive motor, can be more dangerous than the Bertuzzi, Larkin, and Mantha line. So for the second line, we have Bertuzzi on the left wing, newcomer Pius Suter at center, and Robby Fabbri on the right wing, with the ability of having Fabbri and Suter switching out at center. So why move Bertuzzi down the line? Well, I think the Red Wings may be trying to put that line together in hopes that it'll spark some offense, since they have played together in juniors, which could definitely boost the Red Wings offense, having two lines that can score and produce points. The bottom six of the forward lineup is messy. We lost Luke Glendening and Darren Helm in free agency, two important bottom six guys who had been in Detroit for a long time. So for the third line, we have Michael Rasmussen at center, Taro Hirose on the right wing, and Sam Gagner or Vladimir Namestnikov on the left wing. Rasmussen just makes sense. In most people's opinion, he showed that he can be an asset on an NHL roster. So putting him on the third line adds some depth scoring, and he can move up in the lineup if injuries start to add up. Hirose went close to a point per game in the AHL and doesn't have anything left to prove at that level. So it wouldn't make any sense to put him back in Grand Rapids. As for Gagner and Namestnikov, they're both good players. I feel like Gagner has more experience that he could bring to the line of pretty young players. Namestnikov has some experience as well, playing for a lot of different teams. The biggest advantage Namestnikov has is his younger age. He most likely won't experience a drop-off in production as much as Gagner would. Which leaves us with the fourth line, the grind line. We have Mitchell Stephens at center, Adam Erne on the left wing, and either Luke Witkowski or Giovanni Smith, most likely being Smith, just depending on if they think he's ready to be in the NHL full-time. Smith is younger and probably has better offensive capabilities than Witkowski, but I'm sure we will see him don the wing wheel sometime this season. But I believe he was brought in to be a leader and enforcer for the prospects like Lucas Raymond, Jonathan Berggren, Kirill Tutyev, McIsaac, etc., who will be developing in Grand Rapids next season. So I'm sure the big question is, where is Joe Veleno? He played in the NHL last season. He would probably be better than Stephens. And my answer, while that may be true, putting arguably our best center prospect in the bottom six, earning 10, maybe close to 13, 14 minutes a night if he's lucky, or going to Grand Rapids playing closer to 20 minutes a night against men, and then move up to the NHL if he starts dominating or when injuries start to add up on the NHL roster. And he could play meaningful minutes. As for Raymond and Berggren, it's kind of the same thing, getting adjusted to North American ice and getting the call up when there's a real opportunity to play. So moving on to defense. The top line I don't believe has changed. Danny DeKeyser on the left-hand side, Filip Hronek on the right-hand side. I know people's complaints about DeKeyser, but aside from Nick Leddy, who will be mentoring and lining up with Moritz Seider, there isn't another likely defenseman who could fill in that spot. So until Yzerman and Blashill think Seider can take on the top line duties, that will be the Red Wings' top defensive pairing. Now, quickly following that, we have the Nick Leddy and Moritz Seider line as the second defensive pairing. Finally, we will see the German Wrecking Ball make his NHL debut. Obviously, Yzerman thinks of him as a future top defenseman once he pans out. Right before the expansion draft, Yzerman went out and acquired Nick Leddy from the New York Islanders in exchange for a second-round pick and Richard Panik. Mostly to A, make the team more competitive, but also B, mentor Seider and adopt a little bit of his style of play while learning to become a full-time NHLer and a leader for Detroit's blue line for years to come. This line should be the top line by the end of the season, which leaves us with the third pairing, which is going to be Mark Stahl and Troy Stecher. Stetcher helped Canada reach gold at the World Championships, so it should be no surprise there. Mark Stahl has loads of NHL experience that can be used to help young prospects and players coming up in the Red Wings system. Also, if any young prospects make their way to the NHL roster, he can serve as a healthy scratch. So the big question is, where is Gustav Lindstrom? My guess is he's probably going to be in Grand Rapids next season and be the first call-up when injuries do start to arise, because they will happen. Lindstrom looks ready to make the jump to the NHL, but he doesn't seem ready and steady enough to have a full-time spot. So he's right on that brink, and this season will be very important to seeing if he can finally make that jump and sustain himself as an NHL defenseman. As for goaltending, it's pretty easy. The Red Wings went out and acquired Nedeljkovic from the Carolina Hurricanes in exchange for a third-round pick and the signing rights to Jonathan Bernier. Nedeljkovic will obviously be the starter, Thomas Greiss being the backup, but that situation could change depending on how well their season goes. Greiss ended the season really well last year. Nedeljkovic also ended the season well last year, but he also went through waivers last year, meaning we could have just picked him up for nothing, and then he broke out. So we'll see if he can continue to find success, which he should. He was a finalist for the Calder Trophy. If not, Greiss is a fine backup. He had a great end of the season, and hopefully he continues with that momentum. Let us know down below what you think of our lineup. Please comment your lineup. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your opinions. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. That way you make more content that you like. And lastly, don't be afraid to subscribe. That way you get notified when we upload a video. And until next time, lights out in the red light district.